You're listening to the ColbyCheeZe Gaming Podcast, your home for League of Legends news, updates, and discussions. What's up, everybody? This is Colby, and it's time for the 38th episode of my podcast. And I've got a lot of stuff to talk with you guys about in this particular episode. We've got the Season 2 World Finals that just took place and all the stuff that went down during that time, and all the stuff that's happened since then in the esports scene. A lot of good stuff happening in Cali there. Also, I want to talk to you guys a lot of news about my channel and some of my plans, and you may have noticed like an increase in the amount of videos that I've been doing. So there's a little bit of discussion I want to give you guys on to my plans over this next year and what I'm trying to accomplish with the channel and for you guys, as well as like my second channel, what I'm going to be doing on there. We've also got some really cool updates in this latest patch with the release of Elise, and I want to discuss all of those things as well, and the new threes map. Also some changes that are still yet to come in League, and just some really cool stuff in the gaming world in general. So let's go ahead and get started. No more delay. Cue up the gaming footage. Let's go. So while I was in California for the World Playoffs and the finals, I was staying at the Curse House. Had a whole lot of fun down there, and got to meet a lot of really cool people from the different teams. Obviously Curse Gaming, and then all the others, and a lot of really cool people down there that aren't necessarily on the pro teams. So I don't know, I kind of got the idea, I'm going to go ahead and move to Cali. That's where everything is happening. And they've got the stadium that they're going to have done in a few years, where they're going to be doing all the League of Legends events, and most of the stuff is within driving distance, or you can fly out a lot cheaper from there. So that's kind of where I'm starting to move. And another thing that kind of inspired me, I watched this little interview thing that they had. I can't remember who did it, but they had this interview with one of my idols, who is Husky StarCraft, and about how much work he puts into his channel. It got me thinking, I've been doing this YouTube channel for a really long time now, for maybe like a year or two, and I've really only treated the channel as more of a hobby than anything else, because I've just kind of done things whenever I felt like it, and when I wasn't playing some games and stuff, I'd make a video. But I'd really like to try and kick it up to the next level, and give out content on a regular basis, and treat this more like a business for you guys, and try and bring out just the highest quality content that I can. So that's why you've probably seen the increase in videos that I've been doing with the daily commentaries almost, and I'm planning on even expanding on that and doing daily let's plays on my second channel, which is the Cheesy Blonde Guys. If you haven't already checked that out, make sure that you subscribe to that if you do enjoy my let's plays. And if you haven't seen those, then you can check out some of my playlists that I actually have on this channel as well, to see some of those and kind of the style. Currently playing Dishonored, which is a pretty cool game, so I plan to get through that on there fairly soon. And I'm obviously going to be playing the really fun ones like the new Amnesia once it comes out, and all that good stuff. So be sure to keep that in mind as well. Now there's some pretty cool stuff going on. So obviously the Taipei Assassins, they won the World Finals. This is all old news. I thought it was really cool though that the Taiwanese government is actually planning on making a national sport of League of Legends just because of that. So that's kind of an interesting thing to look at there, as how much that's affected them as a country. When you look at the World Finals numbers, it's really interesting to kind of compare. Like, for example, League of Legends has, the competitive scene of League of Legends has been around for 2 years, and the numbers that we hit in League of Legends are quite large. I believe that they said it was about 8.2 million unique viewers tuned in to watch just the World Finals alone. That's not even including the playoffs there. And that at around peak time, it was 1.1 million people concurrent watching. So that's literally the largest esport event that we've ever seen for any game at all, and it's kind of exciting because it's only the second year. If you take a look at something like the Super Bowl, where there's like football is like a huge sport. There's obviously, high schools play it and colleges play it all around U.S. People are playing football and talking about football. And let's see, and I know that the first Super Bowl ever had like 24 million people watching it. So if you try and compare something like that to to the numbers of League of Legends of 8 million for something that's only been around for 2 years, it's just a video game. A lot of people don't even play video games out there. It's just, there's a certain demographic to it. That's a gigantic number when you compare it to something like the Super Bowl. And now, obviously, the Super Bowl last year had 111 million, but I mean, that's been around for over 100 years now. Compared to League of Legends, it's been around for 2 years, already getting 8 million. That's a pretty big deal. So I don't know. I just like to compare things, and when you think about the bigger picture like that, it's a pretty exciting thing to be in League of Legends right now. So another thing I found, which was pretty interesting, and I don't know if you guys have seen or heard about this, is where Destiny from StarCraft 2 was actually talking about the state of StarCraft 2 and comparing it to League of Legends. I think he makes a really good point, and I'll link this video if you want to watch it. It's like a 5-minute clip here where he talks about it, but it's essentially him talking about the fact that pro gamers in the StarCraft 2 scene are confused and angry as to why they are not getting the same amount of viewers as League of Legends and why their salaries are not as large. And he talks about the fact that everyone's like, well, StarCraft 2 is such a complex and beautiful and strategic game, but how none of that even matters because it's all about the casuals who play the game. And if they don't give a shit, and it's not going to make a difference at all. And that's why League of Legends, who really caters to the broad demographic of basically everybody and gets everybody to want to play the game and have fun and enjoy it, how League of Legends is big because of that, whereas StarCraft 2, it's like, sure, it's a beautiful game and it's very strategic and complicated and there's so much that the pros can do with it, but no one really gives a shit about that because, well, that's just the way it is. So, I don't know. I just thought it was a really interesting video. You probably get more out of it by watching it yourself, but that's kind of the gist of it, and I think he makes a really good point. And so I had to give applause to Riot Games, and, I just got done watching a talk from the GDC, the Game Developers Conference, about how they use some of their, strategies, for example, to work with the community, such as the release of Elise and how they worked so well and they listened to the community feedback to bring back Elise and they made such a big deal out of making it a really fun event for everyone. So I think it's things like that Riot Games really steps up and they listen to the community, and they've done a really good job of just making the game extremely fun for everyone to play, and they continue to do so. So that's a good segue, I'd say, to kind of talk about the latest patch and some of the stuff that I really enjoy about it. And so the Shadow Isles, let's just actually talk about the changes that have been added in the Shadow Isles patch, or at least just the ones that I think are most pertinent anyways. First of all, if you are going to buy RP, do it now so that you can grab yourself some of the new summoner icons. You can spend $70 and you can get that Vengeful Wraith icon, or you can do a little bit less and you get some of the other icons at least, but those are gonna stay around forever, but you only have a limited amount of time, I believe until November 13th to grab those. So again, I'll put a link down below if you missed the news post on LeagueOfLegends.com about how much RP you need to spend for each tier of those icons, but that's something that's pretty cool. I actually just put $100, and I don't really ever buy RP in the game, but just for this particular moment, I was like, you know what? I've been playing this game for so long, and it's a big deal to me, so I'm going to go ahead and put down some cash for it. Speaking of spending a lot of money on the game, I do have a friend who's actually bought literally every single thing you can buy in the game, every single skin that exists. He said he spent over $2,400 on the game in RP, so pretty interesting. I don't know, maybe you guys let me know in the comments below how much money you spent on the game, and if any of you guys out there have everything. So anyhow, the big one in this patch is the addition of the revamped Twisted Treeline map. And I'm not going to really spend a lot of time talking about it because I actually plan on doing a separate video talking about my thoughts on the Twisted Treeline map and everything that has to do with it. But overall, I think it's a pretty cool addition to the game. I think they've actually made it a lot more fun. I know I've heard some people complain a little bit about it, but with the fact that it is just so much more fast paced, I think we're going to see a little bit more people play it. I would like to see them add a solo queue option for it so you don't have to just do teams, but we'll see if they actually decide to do that or not. Anyhow, I'd rather just talk about the actual changes to Summoner's Rift or the champions. And so what that means to the current meta and stuff like that. So two big ones here are that they make Blitzcrank and Sona a lot squishier. Sona now has barely 2 more HP than a melee minion based on her new armor and health. So she's going to be very squishy. Overall, I don't think that was necessarily the right change for her. I feel like she just does too much damage as a support. Later on, she gets tanky enough anyways. What I feel like would have been better, a couple of things they could have done. One, they could have just increased all of her cooldowns by 1 second, and I think that would have helped out a little bit. Another thing they can do is just reduce the damage on her passive or with her Q, because I think those are the two things that just make her way too strong of a support to be placed down in the bottom lane, because you add her up with some of the other carries and you can just completely outburst any other person in the lane from range, and it's just really annoying, and it's low cooldown and she can sustain on top of that. So I don't mind the sustain part of Sona, but I think that if they kind of reduced her damage at least somewhat at lower levels, maybe increased scaling so you can still kind of do that fun AP build with her if you wanted to, and if you're not playing support. But overall, I think that would be a better choice for Sona rather than just making her, a minion, essentially. Blitzcrank, on the other hand, he's definitely a lot easier to kill now, so it's going to be a little bit more risky for him to pull in people and start those engages. He needs to make sure that he's not going to get bursted down extremely fast by doing so. Another change is that they really took down the DFG by a large amount. So before, DFG was basically a free active. You weren't paying for that. You were buying this item that gave you cooldown reduction, ability power, and it was fine for the amount of money that you spent on it for just those stats. And then on top of that, you get this really amazing active ability. Now they've actually taken out all of the extra stuff, which does kind of suck. I did like all the cooldown reduction on the DFG, but pretty much you're just buying an active use item now. And so you have to really make that decision. Okay, is it worth upgrading this Kage's fully to get that item? And in a lot of cases, it's still a pretty good item. You're just not going to get a complete nasty burst and a lot of utility off of that item. So yes, that is a nerf to certain champions such as Sion and Vigar and Evelynn, and champions that did need that extra attack to burst people down from full. But at the same time, it is a good change, as that was kind of a toxic item to the game in my opinion. And then on Evelynn herself, they've reduced her damage from her ultimate by quite a lot. Basically, they halved the scaling on it. So I haven't really been seeing a lot of Evelynn's. I think she's still fairly strong. She can hurt quite bad, but I've not really been seeing her too much. But then again, I haven't played a lot of solo queues since the release, since I've been playing the new champion and the new map. Ezreal's Essence Flux no longer slows people's attack speed. I've still been seeing a lot of Ezreals, but we're going to see after a while if he stays in popularity or not. I'm not really sure. That is a big part of Ezreal, but he still has a lot of damage and poke in the lane, so I imagine that he's still going to be played as a pretty strong AD carry, at least in the time being, but possibly going to be seeing more Corki now, as Corki is actually a really good choice in my opinion. He does a lot of damage, has a lot of AP and AD, so it's hard to build against him and that sort of thing. Jace, they've actually completely removed the base damage on his E, which is a Thundering Blow and melee stance, and it no longer, it just, basically that's 160 damage nerf to the ability. So he's still strong, but he does not have that huge amount of damage right away. I'm not sure if it completely nerfs Jace out or not. I haven't really seen too much trouble with Jace's. I mean, I played him in 3s and he was great, and I had a friend who played him in 5s. He still did well. His laning phase is going to be a little bit more difficult because he can't use his acceleration gate as much. It now costs 20 extra mana to pop that down, so you have to really make the decision of, well, should I use this acceleration gate or not? Because before you can just throw it down anytime you want. It wasn't really a big deal. Leona, they did some small things. Let's see. These aren't really big deals. Rengar, on the other hand, he kind of got a nerf to his... sorry, I keep getting these noises. Rengar got a nerf to his lane sustain. He's still pretty strong, but they did a little bit of nerfs on his item, so he no longer has that base 10 attack damage right off the bat when he buys that Bone Tooth. Also, they reduced the attack damage ratio by 0.5 on his empowered savagery, and so that's going to make it a lot less bursty on that max amount that you can get. And then they really kind of hit his ultimate by quite a bit. 2 seconds less on the duration is a pretty big deal for him being able to run around and catch people as well as get away from bad sticky situations. And then they really raised the cooldown on that by a significant amount. It looks like 20 seconds, so that's pretty large amount considering the fact that at max level it's now 140 seconds. Of course, later on it gets down to 70, and then with cooldown reduction that gets lower, and it's not so bad. But early levels, it's going to be harder for him to start to snowball, and that's where he really is strong, is that early and mid game. So we'll see if that affects Rengar bans or not, if he's still going to be the one-shot wonder whenever he comes out of gets a couple of items and stuff like that. And mostly, those are some of the big ones. Syndra, on the other hand, they tried to make her a little bit more playable. She, as of last patch, before this one, she was the worst champion in the league, even worse than Karma, at 30% win rate in all games, whereas Karma was 37% win rate. So I don't know what it is after the changes. We're going to have to wait a little bit to see if people can actually learn Syndra and pick her up. She does do a lot of damage, and if her abilities land correctly, can be fairly strong, but the problem still remains that she's very clunky to use. Even though they've made her a little bit easier, she's still just very difficult to combo properly with all of her abilities. And I haven't exactly seen any scary Syndras lately, and honestly, I don't think this fixed the problems with Syndra, and I think it's going to be very difficult to actually make Syndra a viable champion. She's probably going to be something you pick because you want to have some fun. She is, yes, a very fun champion to play, but overall, I just don't think she's viable at all at this point until they change some other stuff about her. And without going into a lot of detail, I'm not really gonna, I'm not gonna spend any more time on what they could do to Syndra, but that's pretty much my consensus on her at this point in time. And so they've done a few things with some other champions. They made Twisted Fate, a different. They've kind of updated his models and stuff. Obviously, that was before this patch, but I think that's pretty cool. What they're doing, I know I've heard a lot of people complaining about the newer models having, they're just like a lot taller and they think they're out of proportion. But what I read was that Riot actually says, okay, they're not too tall. In fact, the problem is that the older models are the ones that are actually out of proportion and not tall enough. And so eventually they're going to actually update everything to be as tall as these new models are. And I think that's actually fine, because if you think about it, like if you take out, oh, well, they look taller out of the equation, you look at the models and you're like, okay, they actually look good. They look better, in my opinion. So once everything is evened out, I think it'll look great. So this is kind of a nice visual update to the game. And another cool thing they've added now is the ward skins. And I believe this is a really fun thing, because not only does it give you like a little bit of extra customization and stuff you can do with your wards, but it actually promotes people buying wards in games because they want to use those skins that they've bought. And they're not extremely expensive. You can buy a couple of weeks worth of wards and keep those up and going for not too much. IP or RP, they've got a lot of wards for different options. So I think that's pretty exciting. I think a thing that I would really like to see in the league soon is potentially some sound packs that you can get. I know that in Han you can actually purchase things like that, so where if you get like first blood, it uses a different sound file to announce that if it was you that got that first blood, things like that. And I think that would be really fun addition, something to spend RP on for people that are getting bored of just buying skins. I know personally me, I'm not really a huge fan of buying skins. I'll get a skin for some of my favorite champions and stuff like that. But I like these things like the wards, and I would love to buy like some sound pack or something like that. I would definitely spend my RP on that. I think another really cool thing that they could add is maybe they can add some kind of like auras that you can add to all of your champions, like maybe like some kind of like cool glows, or I don't know, something outside of just a skin that you can visually see, or maybe like a little pet that follows you around. It's non-combat, it's not targetable or anything, but it's just something fun that you see on the map, you know, like a little bouncing bunny or a little bird that flies around you, or I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. So overall, that's most of the big changes to the league. There are a couple of other ones that you can check out, and obviously I'll put a link to the patch notes in case you want to look over those yourself. But that's it for those. Speaking of changes coming to the league, there is one that I am super excited about that they have not yet put in, and this was just a forum post, like one little paragraph in a long forum post by Freak, and he's saying that they're actually planning on, this is going to come later when they redo some of the itemization in the game, which they do plan on doing, but one of the confirmed ones is that they're going to remove the fact that, they're going to change. Okay, let me just say this. So right now, first they calculate flat armor pin, and then they calculate percentage armor pin. And so this makes buying something like Brutalizer and Last Whisper kind of like work against each other. But what they're going to do is they're going to make it so percentage armor pin is calculated first, and then they're going to calculate flat penetration. And this works for Magic Pin as well. So buying something like Brutalizer and then Last Whisper is actually a very, very strong option. This is going to make champions like Talon and Pantheon very, very happy campers. And I'm excited for this because those are the type of champions that I really love playing. And those are the type of builds that I do. I like to build the Brutalizer and Last Whisper currently. So that just means that my current build is going to be even stronger in this upcoming patch when they add that. And then on top of that, they're actually making flat armor and magic resist more expensive, so they're going to increase the cost of those type of items that give you those resistances. And this is going to make assassin champions just overall more strong, and it's going to be harder to be like a very beefy tank without, investing a lot into that. And that's going to make it so that you can't build like a lot of damage and be super tanky. You're going to have to probably choose one or the other, or just a little bit of both instead of a lot of both. Anyhow, that's pretty exciting, and that's pretty much all I've got to talk about today, other than one more thing, and that is that Twitch.tv, I found this really cool article, is doing a SDK for game developers, and this is something that's in the works, but essentially what's happening is they're trying to allow new games that are being released to have an in-game streaming client built in. So, for example, you could be playing the next Command and Conquer game, and then within the game itself, you can just click stream and like type in your login information, and it'll actually automatically stream that to Twitch TV without having to use a program like XSplit and paying for that, or figuring out all of your different settings and stuff. It's going to take care of all of that for you within the game, and I think that's a really exciting option that they're going to be doing something like this, and that could be a big thing coming, in the near future if all games have the ability to stream, because right now that is such a popular thing, which is another good way to segue into the fact that, yes, I have been streaming a lot more now. So if you guys want to check me out live, playing solo queue, playing with friends, and doing other things like that, maybe in doing commentaries live, all of this stuff, then I've been streaming now on twitch.tv/ColbyCheeZe. Go check me out. Make sure you follow that channel. If you are a Twitch user, you can just click follow, and it'll give you an email update when I go live. And mostly I've been going live anytime I'm actually playing games. Right now I haven't been having a little bit of internet issues, but that should be fixed sometime today. I'm having, as the guys come over and give me a new modem, my modem's going back. But that doesn't matter. The point is, come check me out on Twitch, and hopefully you guys enjoyed today's podcast. I know it's been a while, but I, again, want to just remind you that I plan on doing a lot of extra content. So I would actually like to see your comments below on some of the, like, your favorite type of videos that I've done recently or in the past, even something that I haven't done in a long time. Maybe if you want me to bring something back or whatever, just start a discussion down below. Let me know what it is you want to see. If I'm going to be doing videos daily, what is your most like sought after thing from me? And I do read these comments, and I would like to know, because this is a big deal to me. I'm gonna make my channel super fun for everybody, and just lots of constant content for everyone that's involved. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast. This is ColbyCheeZe. I'll see you around next time. Peace out.